Well, the MP, Diane Abbott, has joined us on the sofa. Diane, is this a coup that's been launched against the Prime Minister?
No, I think calling it a coup is quite misleading. You know, you have to have a contest for the leadership. And I'm astonished, Prime Minister's a wonderful man, I'm sure, but I'm astonished that he can have 80 MPs placing votes of no confidence. He can have the huge reform majority we got last week, and he himself is not considering his position.
Yeah, he's got a massive majority in the Commons, so he's digging in.
The majority is the Labour Party's majority. People talk as if we're the United States and the Prime Minister gets voted for separately from, you know, actual members of Parliament. It is the Labour Party which has the majority.
You don't think he can take credit for that, he and Morgan McSweeney?
Morgan McSweeney, let me not talk about Morgan McSweeney. Let me just repeat that it's the Labour Party that has the mandate. And he, with what is the most disastrous local authority election result in living memory, he should consider his position.
Well, but he's not, so you're at a stalemate, aren't you? I mean, do you want Wes Streeting, Andy Burnham, you know, Angela Rayner, whoever it is, to sort of put up and get on with it?
I want there to be a properly organised selection process, and we'll see who emerges.
And that will take weeks and weeks. And meanwhile, the bond markets will go into a, hissy fit.
British politics and British Parliament can't be run, at the behest of the bond markets. We have to do what's right. We have to do what's right, and we have to choose the right person to be leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister, and we have to do it as quickly as possible, but we have to do it properly.
Well, we're all going to be pretty poor if we don't pay heed to the markets, though, aren't we?
No, come on. I mean, if the British government is going to be completely dominated by the bond market, MPs might as well go home.
Or do you not borrow money?
Well, there's that. Sorry, there's that.
Or cut the welfare bill.
There's that, but it's whether that's something that... It's whether the Labour Party wants to cut the welfare bill, as you're saying, and spend the money on armaments and nuclear weapons, and that's something for discussion.
Well, Gillian, what do you make of that provocative question from Diane?
Well, I think we do need to spend on defence, actually, and I think Mick would hopefully be happy because there'd be lots of jobs in the defence industry and there'd be lots of high-quality jobs. But, you know, we are in a very uncertain world, and we do know that Donald Trump has definitely changed his stance towards NATO and towards Russia, Ukraine. So these things, whilst all this psychodrama, which it has now become, is happening, all these things are really important. We still don't know what's going to happen in Iran. Is that ceasefire over or not? You know, are they negotiating? All of this is really important.
That is all true.
And we've got no one leading here.
That is all true. But British politicians, the community, we have to discuss whether what we want to do at the end of the day is slash welfare and put it into nuclear weapons. We just have to discuss it.
Not just nuclear weapons, but, you know...
Drones, I think, now.
Drones, armaments, just discuss it. Don't think you can just slide it past and people don't notice.
Do you see, you know, Andy Burnham and think there is a leader who will be speaking the language you speak?
Do you know, I've known Andy Burnham for very many years. In 2010, there was a leadership election. A Labour leadership election, and there was the two Miliband brothers, there was Ed Balls, there was Andy Burnham, and there was me. And all of the guys... Yeah, right. I was the left candidate, right? And so I went day after day after day, speaking from platforms in town halls and all the rest of it. So I heard them, all of them, several times a week. And I have to tell you, at that point, they were interchangeable. Now, maybe Andy Burnham is very left-wing now. I don't know.
Do you think he's changed his tune?
Well, I think he's learned a lot from being in Manchester and getting things done. He was on platforms with the RMT during the National Rail dispute about making transport accessible, and he's been successful in some of that stuff. So people do evolve, they do change. I don't believe people are stuck in the position they adopted when they were 18.
He's had many positions, I think. That's
the kind of pragmatist that successful politicians are, isn't it?
Yeah, is that fair enough?
So
he's changed
it's who's there available and is on offer that members have to make their mind up.
Over that period of time. We're talking about maybe 16 years. People do evolve. I'm not saying people can't change and evolve. I'm sure I've evolved. All I'm saying is that I don't go for this automatic thing that, you know, Andy Burnham is this great left-winger. I just don't.
So is Angela Rayner more your gal?
Nobody's my girl or not my girl. I think Angela Rayner is extremely talented, and if she's able to
Be on a dream ticket?
I don't know about a dream ticket. You know, I want to see who's actually going to run. I think the media is trying to voice different candidates on us. The party has to have a selection process. We have to see who's running, and we have to see who gets the vote.
But
Surely somebody has to make a programme that the whole party can support, come out with a programme and then prove that they can articulate that and implement it in the next 2.5 years.
And a plan before
That's
you,
more important
before you
than,
do it.
than,
a plan
than
before.
razzmatazz and being an effective speaker. Attlee was probably the worst speaker we've ever had. But he
Yeah, that
just
was a
got-
different era, though.
But he
Very
got on with the
different.
job. He got on with the
But
job,
listening
and
to
they
Chris-
were bold, and he wasn't from the left. You
But
don't have to be the most
listening to Chris
left-wing
there,
person.
talking about a plan, talking about ideas. You don't talk about ideas, you have ideas. You stick them down with a plan way before you get into government. So when you get into government, you can enact them. By the time they get to that, you'll be 3 years into the government.
But Diane, you've said the media's, you know, putting this and that candidate. Help us out. Who would you put in there?
It's not for me to say. I want to see.
but
Not
you've just
yourself,
accused
not
them.
you. Not you.
Oh yeah, you're not. You wouldn't be a sort of left-wing stalking horse
I
candidate.
did that 16 years ago. I think
You're not
I've
gonna-
moved beyond that phase.
You know how that movie ends.
I've done that.
We
been
haven't got
there.
the right ending though, Diane. It could change, it could be different.
Been there, done
But you
that.
want a proper left candidate, and the names
I
that the
want
media
a
are
proper
currently.
candidate, and I want a proper selection process. That's all I want on behalf of, you know, party members.
You know what? It's entirely possible there's a leadership contest in the next few days that kicks off, and the Prime Minister wins that.
Well,
But that was quite a look, Diane.
It's theoretically possible, but he'd have to do that on the back of a programme. He'd have to tell
He hasn't
people,
had a win for a
I'm
while,
going
to
to
be
do
honest.
this, which is different to what I've done already. Now, whether he's able to do that, the evidence of yesterday's speech was that he's not capable of doing that. I'm afraid to say that. Maybe he's saying I'm just consistent, but that's not what's resonating with people.
He isn't consistent. He's
I
done
watched
16
yesterday's
U-turns.
speech, and I watched it with
Consistent
great
U-turn.
care, and I didn't hear a single new thing. And I wondered, I thought there might be a few things new.
Yeah, but you're a long opponent of Keir Starmer, aren't you?
No. I'm somebody that listens to people's speeches carefully. And I did it, and I think most people that know about the Labour movement didn't hear anything new. And that was disappointing.
But when I said he might win the contest, you gave me what can only be described as a long, hard stare. What did that mean?
Well, it just means if he wins, he wins. We'll all, you know, unite behind him.
You're very calm. You're very calm about it, but then this is a disaster for the party, a disaster for Keir Starmer personally. It's a disaster for the country because we don't even know who our Prime Minister is going to be next week.
Oh, I think it'll be sorted out.
What,
in a
next
little while.
week?
Well, I know it'll be sorted out. And it's a very important thing who the Prime Minister is, so we need to get it right.
And people at home, Mick, are feeling pretty worried about their bills. They're worried about the future. They're worried about war.
You'd imagine we never have elections and never have periods of uncertainty. We do have elections on a cyclical basis. And when a parliament's dissolved, you don't know who the next Prime Minister is. The country doesn't dissolve. The business of government gets on. This has to be dealt with by the Labour Party. They have to get either Keir Starmer continuing through a process, which could happen theoretically, or a new leader with a new programme. That is inevitable now. There's no other way. You can't just sit there like King Canute saying everything's not happening and the waves are going to go back.
It's unusual to get 4 in 4 years, though.
It is unusual.
Prime
Yeah.
Ministers.
But then we might have
And-
one for 10 years. if we
I mean,
get the
just
right
think,
one.
I mean, the King's doing the King's speech tomorrow. Now, we thought his biggest diplomatic challenge was going to be going to the States and managing Donald Trump and the White House. That was 2 weeks ago today.
got to read out a prepared statement. It's not
his
that
biggest diplomat. No, that was hard.
Went to Cambridge.
His biggest diplomatic challenge is going to be navigating the civil war in the Labour Party on King's
Everyone
speech
will
day.
be very well behaved.
Well, I'm sure they'll be well behaved, but it won't change what he knows about the fact that we're in, there's a bit of a chaos.
It may be in his mind, but we'll be very well behaved and very organised.
A very well behaved Diane. Thank you very much for sitting on the sofa today.